Anime Declassified is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Anime Secrets Declassified, where today we will be discussing the newly released Digimon O2 movie, The Beginning. Joining me on this, what is sure to be a good episode, I hope, is our Commander-in-Chief, Rizwan.
Hey, guys.
Diana.
Hi.
Alora.
Hello.
And Patrick.
Hello.
And, well, first things first, how's everyone doing?
It's Thursday night, so almost a weekend.
Get hype.
Hype time.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the weekend.
It's not Friday. It's not Friday.
Yeah. But how about you, Miguel? How you doing?
I am here and ready to talk about this movie.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
So I guess before we get into the actual movie, going into it, what were your guys' expectations for it?
A good film.
Jesus Christ, Diana.
Sorry. Knowing the outcome, that's hilarious.
Hey, Patrick. We can no longer say that I'm the most ruthless when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Listen,
now.
It's Digimon Adventure, and I should learn by now not to expect such things.
So, coming in, I was expecting a Digimon movie. My expectations were very low. The bar was set very low.
So,
I love Digimon. Don't get me wrong, but they're right. Yeah.
So my expectations were also low, but I do want to give a little bit of background on why mine were low.
Do tell.
So, Try was a lot of garbage to begin with.
I try to forget that happened.
You try and forget?
Yeah. They keep reminding us that it exists, sadly.
Yeah, so I didn't like Try very much. And then Last Kazune, when I watched it, it was an amazing movie. I loved it. Until the end. The end gave me feelings I should never have been given by a Digimon movie. And honestly, it gave me a sense of finality of this is where the mainline continuity will end. We're not going to get anything after. So when I saw the new movie, I was like, wait, how does this make sense? Are we going to have these kids lose their connection to their moms now? Is it going to be like a repeat? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? So it was more because I was confused on why this movie was made.
Patrick?
Money, of course.
Yeah, money.
Digimon and money is not something that goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Dragon Ball's too busy taking all of it for itself. I liked Last Evolution, so my expectations going into this were kind of all over the place because I liked Last Evolution, so I was going in with the expectations of it being of that quality. But then I remembered this was a 02 movie, so then my expectations fell again. So I just kind of was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it do its thing, and then I'll judge it afterward.
Yeah,
fair enough.
You know what? I decided during the movie that I actually like 02 more than Adventure.
Same.
Well, that sounds like a you problem.
Theater, I was like, this is an unpopular opinion, but I prefer the 02 kids over the 01 kids. Sitting there watching 02 gave me a more magical feeling than watching Kizuna did.
Can I be rude for a second?
Yeah,
go ahead, Patrick.
Can I be rude for a second? That sounds like a you problem. I feel like 02 more
It's not a
than
problem. I'm proud to admit it. I'm entitled to my opinion. It's good.
That's also
man,
a you problem.
They have beaten 01 to death.
Yeah, kind
Yeah,
of.
That
that-
horse
Sorry.
is glue at this point. It's been beaten
After
so
try,
much.
After
Th- I
try,
mean,
you can't
that
really come
is-
back from that. You can't
that
come back
is-
from that.
I mean, I will agree that the OG Adventure has been beaten into a horse, but I'm still going to say that the actual original Adventure season is still like some of the best stuff.
I'm just saying, at this point in time, I felt refreshed to see the O2 kids back.
Oh no,
I
yeah,
was-
it was nice to see the secondary cast get the
Well,
spotlight
Also,
for
that's
once.
paint.
I'll agree with that.
That's
It
why,
was-
guys, that's paint.
It was nice that we got something Digimon Adventure related, where it didn't just fall back to, oh hey, Matt, Ty, go figure this out for us, and we
Yeah.
become the background. So it was a nice.
Omegamon, kill the thing, okay?
Yeah.
I
It was a
was
nice
just happy
change of
we
pace
had
with that.
Digimon.
And for me going into this one, I was like, just be better than try. Like that.
Yeah.
That is all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
No,
The bar is not
Well,
that high.
yeah, you can trip over your own shoelaces and still be better than try. Let's be real here.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest fan of Adventure 2 either. I think 4 of the 6 main Digidestined kind of suck.
which one
mean,
do you
I've
like?
TK
yeah, who
and
do you
Ken.
like? Well, that's the only real correct answer to that question, anyway.
I had to check.
Dice K's middle name is Punch Me in the Face, so
Look, I like the idiots. All right, they make me
After-
laugh.
Like
Yeah.
I hate Davis so much, but the funniest thing is when I open my card pack, the first card
He
I
was the
see
first-
is
same here.
Davis. And I'm just like shaking my head, laughing, like, of course this would happen. But then
Okay, but
TK
my
was
favorite
TK was
At
the
least
next
you
card.
got cards.
favorite part of the movie was when
Well,
Ken and Davis were having a moment. Yoli comes over the headphone and says, "Stop flirting, you two." Best part of the movie.
Yeah, I feel like that was like, invitation for an open relationship.
more like she was sticking her ground, like, hey, what's going on here?
I mean, she wasn't being aggressive of like, that's my man you're
She-
flirting with.
She's just sticking the ground right there. Just like, what's going
But
on
yeah, I
here?
feel like we're kind of going into the movie.
But yeah,
Yeah.
going into the movie, we talked about how we felt going into it. After all was said and done, before we kind of start diving into the nitty gritty on it, how did you come out of the movie feeling? You can start.
The itch was scratched. I
I
got
I will-
something, Digimon. The itch was scratched.
I will say this: for it being relatively tame, I actually kind of liked it.
I walked out of this movie conflicted because, and I'm gonna kind of paraphrase what I told Frankie earlier today. This is a fun movie. I had a
Was
lot of
it?
fun watching it, but
that was fun for you. That was like really horrific.
okay, I'm gonna expand on that if you let me talk.
Okay. Hey, I'm allowed to have commentary. It's okay. This is a podcast. It's
Yeah,
open.
but I'm just saying. Let me finish my thoughts. So I can say everything.
Sure.
So I was conflicted because on one hand I had fun, like Elliot said, it's a Digimon movie, my itch is scratched. But on the other hand, I had more questions than I had answers at the end, and the questions I had, when you really think about the continuity of the entirety of this adventure timeline, the decisions we made were kind of odd.
Understatement.
Okay, so Liz, what if I were to tell you that the people who made this movie straight up said they didn't watch Last Evolution?
Dude, okay, now I
I
have
have a
more
problem
questions.
with that.
Now I got more questions.
Because
That-
I
Is that a
think
real
the
thing?
my main takeaway from this was, you guys need to get your lore straight already, because
Yeah.
we've got like the 3rd or 4th different retcon on this. It's like the timelines don't really match up, and even the cool cameo from Willis in there basically goes against what this movie is saying was the origin of the Digivices and Digidestins. I'm like,
And going back to Azulongmon, wasn't it Azulongmon in season 2 or 1 where he was like, there were kids before you?
yeah, we saw them. We saw 2 of them in Try.
Right.
Mhm.
They both died, but
These
like
stories
still
do not match up. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I
there's your problem with legacy stuff like this.
right.
If
I'm-
it's not written by the original writers that did the original stuff, it can get a little bit messy after a while.
No, I disagree about like it having to be original writers. What they needed is a straight full-on lore book. They needed a lore bible. They needed stuff to say this is the hierarchy in which everything goes. This is everything that has happened. They needed a historian, and they failed.
The funny thing is, and I showed this to Riz and a couple of other people, but before, like, was it a week before the movie came out in Japan, they had a live stream where they did put up an official timeline of the Adventure universe.
And Try's not
Wait,
in
they
it.
did?
Try what? Yeah, I
Try's not
put it in.
included.
I put it in our Facebook chat, like,
which is
like,
No, I
weird.
don't read that.
I know,
Which is
because they
weird.
put up a list of. They said that, what was it? The original or the original Chosen Children that they talked about during the Dark Masters arc was introduced, and then Louis got his partner, like, was like the second thing on the timeline.
Louis
So-
is not the first.
Yeah, so it's not, according to their timeline, he wasn't even the first.
Yeah.
And then they put, like, Adventure goes here, and then, you know, our war game here, 02. Try is completely skipped,
It's not there.
But they
but they
They mentioned
acknowledge
it
it
in
in
the
this
movie.
movie. Yeah, but they mentioned it in the movie because
Mentioned it in the
homeostasis had a
movie.
name drop.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, they're
It
kind of a
doesn't even-
mess.
Their
I-
official
Wait.
timeline doesn't even make sense.
Wasn't
biggest
homie
right. Oh.
What's up?
wasn't homeostasis actually part of O2?
No, it was part of
No.
Try.
Or I'm sorry,
It's
like
part of Try.
it was the second half of O1, but I also believe that they kind of touched base with it in O2 because it was basically the digital C was part of like Kyrie's vision of homeostasis or something.
Yeah, the
It
Dark
didn't
Ocean
really
arc.
expand on
Yeah.
it. It was a dropped plot.
I
But
think that
I
was
think-
a separate thing. I don't think that was
It's a
homeostasis.
separate
No, I don't
thing
think-
because
Dark Ocean
homeostasis was
something.
named in Try because that was basically the digital world getting rebooted.
Yeah.
Are you maybe confusing it with the Dark Ocean
That's a
subplot?
Well, that
Yeah.
that's the digital ocean is the dark ocean.
Okay, okay.
I think it's digital in the subbed. I can't remember. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. Been a while.
My biggest gripes with this were it unraveled everything that made Digimon in season 1. Oh, you guys were chosen. You were chosen to defeat the darkness in this world, to save your own world. No, nobody was chosen. The darkness was a made-up thing that Louis Digimon made. Yay! Friends! It was like, what?
Well, I think both can be true at the same time.
What?
Mhm.
I think both can be true at the same time. I think you could have had Louis' Digimon partner, Ukomon, create the first bond of Digimon and human, and then go off and make other friends. Because all Ukomon said is, I'm going to make friends for you so you're never alone. So, I don't see a continuity problem with the Adventure Kids coming later through Ukomon's intervention, but maybe a little bit of chosen prophecy stuff. Both can happen here. Like, they could
But
both
according to the
exist at the same
timeline that
time.
Patrick mentioned, those kids were chosen
need to-
before Louis.
Well, the
I
thing
need to
is,
find
like,
it.
in terms of kind
Good
of
luck.
timeline and
Yeah.
whatnot, when Louis' thing happens, it's 96. But when they see Paramon and Greymon fight, it's 1995.
Mm-hmm.
So that's already, like, not matching up already.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. I found it.
I feel like what they should like. I feel like it's poor writing. I felt that they went a very lazy route on how they wanted to tell this story.
Which is weird.
I felt like they also thought their audience was dumb with how they wrote it. Because I felt like what they could have done with Ukumon was they never explain Ukumon's connection to this great being, whoever they are. They brought it up and then they dropped it like nobody's business.
Just forgot about it.
Right?
I think there's going to be more parts.
And yeah, I think that was 100% their intention with the narration at the end. Like, they're gonna do more, which is weird because the synopsis they went with this one is, oh yeah, now we're gonna give the conclusion to the O2 kids with this one.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I found the timeline thing that they put up. If you wanted me to read it off real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
So the first thing is the prequel movie with the Greymon Parrotmon fight in March of '95, like what you just said. Louis and Ukumon meet in February of '96, and then Adventure happens. Our War Game, which is the Diablomon movie, and then 02 happens. And then the second Diablomon movie happens. Try is completely skipped here, and then it goes to Last Evolution. And then this movie takes place, and then the 02 epilogue. So,
wait, so the epilogue is canon?
The epilogue is canon.
They never said it wasn't.
Yeah, the 02 epilogue said it takes place in 2027.
Well, okay, so the reason I asked that question, Mig, is because at the end of Kazuna, I assumed we retconned the epilogue to have gone away.
Nope.
No, because Matt still went for space travel and Ty still went for diplomacy.
But
there, I put the link in the private chat for you guys to look at it for yourself if you want to.
But my confusion here is then we see Ty as an adult with Agumon carrying a suitcase behind him and Gabumon wearing a spacesuit with Matt.
Yeah.
I
So
think it was kind of implied that they were able to.
More.
I mean, with the Digivices being kind of removed at the end of this movie, I guess it's in theory that Agumon and Gabumon came back sometime later and rejoined them.
How does that make sense, though? Because I thought, and mind you, I've only watched Kizune once, and I watched Kizune years ago. So my memory is a little bad right now, but my general recollection was that Ty and Matt could no longer sustain the relationship with their partner Digimon, and the same is true for Sora, Zoe, Mimi.
Well, the weird thing is that they didn't acknowledge that the others lost them. It was just those two.
At the end, during the credits, they show all of the kids without their Digimon.
Well, I was going to say, I know, because I haven't seen it, but people have talked about it around me. Inconsiderate people spoiling it, too. Not naming names. But they've kind of spoiled it, and, I've seen some scenes, and one of them is, like, Sora with, like, heavily implying that she lost Biomon, like, in a transition scene.
And see, that's why I thought it was odd. Okay, so I understand, these six losing it because it could kind of be a thematic reflection of the kids have now grown up and they can no longer have their childhood. And it's like their coming of age story in a way, thematically. But then during this movie, we see Willis, who was part of that generation technically, and then we also see all the auxiliary chosen children from O2. The girl from France, the kids from Singapore. I think they're from Singapore. Maybe Australia. Something.
Yeah. The World Tour kids, basically.
Yeah. So, seeing Willis with both his Digimon partners confused me because if he has them, then what was the point of these six losing them?
So Willis was actually younger than Izzy, and Izzy was younger than those kids. Right. So he's probably TK and Kari's age or 1 year older.
Well, here's the crazier part, though. At this point, TK and Kari are the same age that Matt and Ty just lost their Digimon at in
Correct.
Last Evolution. So, like, the more these movies keep coming out, the less they keep making sense.
Right.
Well, and then on top of that, why did we need to make The Last Kids in a movie if the epilogue still holds true?
I think there's going to be more, and hear me out. This is not just me being a hopeful fan. I'm not sure if your guys' theaters, I'm pretty sure they all showed them. I was at an AMC, but it's a Fathom event. There was an interview with the man who did this beforehand.
Mhm.
And
I
he
saw that.
literally said, when we started making this movie, we sat down and had a discussion about the future of the Adventure Kids. What do we want next for them?
Yeah.
So he's implying there's more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
this didn't feel like a ending.
No,
No.
it was like an
Okay.
episode. It was like a one-off. It was
Mhm.
definitely not a finite conclusion.
but it still brings up the question of what purpose did Last Kids in a serve if
Drama.
I mean, okay, but like
I
everything
I
else
know
in
where you're
Digimon,
coming from, and I think I can explain it.
okay.
Which is if they had this plan, which I'm not gonna give the Digimon people the benefit of the doubt that they did have this concrete plan, because Try originally was supposed to be like a one-off movie, and then they just expanded into 7 movies. But you could tell they ran out of ideas for the movies, like after movie 3.
Yo.
Yeah,
No
I
So
mean,
long-term planning isn't something I'm gonna give them.
the Hot
But
Spring movie made that very apparent.
yeah, but I think if they did have a plan, Last Evolution would basically serve as a way of writing off the O1 kids to be able to focus on the O2 kids without people bringing the question of, because this is something that you see in like comic book movies and everything, is, or even in the newest Spider-Man game, when all this stuff is going on down here, why aren't the Avengers helping? Why isn't this person coming in to help?
That's what
So
they did with Try. And it made me crazy. It was like, where are the O2 kids and why is
Yeah,
nobody concerned?
They
well,
got
Why does
the
nobody
O2
care?
kids got bodied at the beginning of Try,
Yeah.
which I've said multiple times, and I'll say it again. I stood up and applauded. I'm like, oh yeah, we're in for
But
a
the
good
O1
time
kids
now.
didn't know.
What's up?
No, the O1 kids knew.
The
Yes,
O1
but the
kids, they
O1
just didn't
kids
care.
did
but
not
they
know
didn't
that they
care.
got
Yeah, they
bodied.
didn't. They didn't
Like TK
care.
and Kari went to do like a
Right.
wellness
Nobody
check.
looked for them. They were just like,
No.
oh.
They did a wellness check and said, huh, they're not answering. And then they just left.
No. But if you remember, they also had a screen at one point on like a monitor on screen thing where they had all 4 of the O2 kids on there and it stated missing in action for all of them.
So, but again, it's like, if this is something that they were planning out for a while, and you need a way to basically write off the first main cast, or else you're gonna have people saying, why aren't they helping here? So now that they have a valid excuse to not be able to help because they don't have the Digimon with them, then the O2 kids can actually be the leads and go forth. But that brings up my biggest issue with this movie and with Try, which is they haven't let the Adventure kids be the leads at all. They're more background characters for like their new OC that they're pushing.
Yeah.
And they've literally done that with all 3 of these things. We had Mako in Try, we had the redheaded girl in Kizuna, and now we have Louis in Beginning. Like, why do we need these OCs? What is the point? Like,
And the problem becomes when these OCs are taking the lead, it takes away from what a lot of us want to go see these movies for, which is, hey, we want to see these characters grow and see how they change. And we maybe get a little bit of that with Davis and a little bit of that with Ken, but we don't really see it too much with the others because they didn't get enough screen time for it, which sucks because this movie's like 80% exposition.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Lots of staring.
But
yeah.
Lots of talking.
Just like talking about like inconsistencies between movies and everything. Honestly, that's just part of the trend for the series because Adventure to Zero Two, there was a lot of retcons and things that went against what Adventure established in Zero Two. Like even how they went about writing out, quote unquote, writing out the original or the older kids is that, oh well, their crests, they don't have them anymore. Man, they got destroyed by Apocalypse. They weren't there to be given up. So like from entry to entry, it's always been inconsistent. That's just the theme of the adventure universe at this point.
I mean,
So I don't know why we're surprised.
But
Laura,
also,
aside
at the
from the
same,
ending, there wasn't anything memorable about it.
but also the other part that supports Patrick's statement, there's that famous line, or at least famous to me, where the kids are saying in their battle against Apocalypse, "Crest, we don't need no stinking crest."
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what they said in this film too. Digivices, we don't need digivices. We have
Yeah.
our bombs.
But then in Zero Two, oh, we can't go ultimate because we gave them away to store the digital world. You didn't have anything to give away. That was one of the biggest just changes to the plot, and it was just because we didn't know how to gimp the original kids.
But
Yeah.
also, the crest oddly got transferred to the armor eggs.
Yeah, and then in Try they had them back and could use them just fine again. So, so see what I mean?
But
There's
Try's
no
not
consistency.
canon according to your timeline.
It's not canon, but then it also is canon because it gets acknowledged somewhat in this movie. So,
My little brother hasn't touched Digimon since like 2003, and I was explaining to him the premise of the movie last night. And I said, my biggest gripe is that, yes, okay, I understand that like these shifts are going to happen. You're going to get a different animation studio. You're going to get different writers. You're going to get different voice actors. But can we all just sit the fuck down and do our research? Can you send them home with homework? Can they figure out what happened previously so that they're not all over the place? Like, I just feel like that would be a very professional thing to do
See-
your homework and figure out what happened previously.
Especially since they want to promote and like sell Adventure 1
Yeah.
like as much as they possibly want. They are treating this as their cash cow, and they're not doing the appropriate work for it.
mm-mm.
They
Right.
want to get all the money from their fans that really love this, and they just are dropping the ball movie after movie.
It's lazy. I mean, that's what it is. It's sloppy and it's lazy, and they're just like, hey, what sells an anime? Okay, so I'm talking about Try for this instance. Hey, what sells an anime? Let's have a festival with a maid cafe. Yeah, we could fill up 45 minutes with that. That's not Digimon. That's just stereotypical anime. Like, do
Fan
your homework
service.
about, like, do your research
Yeah.
on what Digimon is and provide for the fans what they came for.
I mean,
And,
that even
we're
goes back-
stupid and just keep feeding them money.
I mean,
but,
let's not
like,
pretend that Digimon's been above tropes because it's a Toei animation. They're gonna have
Yeah.
the
Like,
tropes
I'm
regardless.
just saying, like, the story of Digimon has nothing to do with having a maid cafe at a high school. Like,
I mean, okay, so to go back to an earlier point that you were making, Dai, something that I learned in the last year about Hasbro and the Power Rangers franchise, and even before
Mhm.
Hasbro bought it, there is a Power Rangers Bible that's been passed down for 30 years, and they add entries.
that's genius.
And so there's always a continuity check, which is why the newer stuff coming out of Hasbro, continuity wise, for the most part, makes sense, with a few exceptions of just poor story writing. But for the most part, it all checks out.
Mhm.
They could do that for Digimon. It'd be very
That's
easy.
what I said. That's what I
Yeah.
said. They need a Bible.
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah, they need a Bible and they need a historian.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because that is the thing that is missing here, is a continuity, and that's one of my two big gripes with the movie. I have another gripe that we'll get to later, but this is definitely one of my gripes.
And that's what ruined them from doing an Adventure 03. Halfway through 02, the writing team was split on the direction they wanted to go for the show. And you can tell. I mean, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
tell. There's Aru Kenimon, there's Black War Greymon, there's Oikawa. There's like 15 different storylines happening at once. And then you just get that smorgasbord of an epilogue. And it's like, what? Like, I mean, watching that
Yeah.
now, like as a kid, it was like, yeah, okay, we accept this. But like watching it now, it's like, this is all over the place. And knowing the history about the writers being like torn, okay, it makes sense. I just feel like they haven't gotten their shit together since then. They still don't know the direction they're going in. They have disagreements within the writers. They switch writing teams. I mean, Try had a totally different animation team than Kizuna in Last Evolution. The writers are different. The casting is all over the place. The voices are constantly changing for these kids. And
I am
it's a
so
mess.
sad that Armadillomon doesn't
Holy
say
cow.
yeehaw.
Holy cow, Armadillomon. That is the voice for Upamon. That's like that, hey, Cody!
Yeah.
What? Some
They-
drugs?
Rest in peace, Mr. Axelrod. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
was that was a culture
tried-
shock to me. I'm just like,
Yeah,
wait, where's the howdy?
Yeah,
right.
They tried to mimic Armadillomon's Japanese voice a little bit, with it being kind of like that, scrappy
Cutesy.
kid
Yeah.
sound,
Yeah.
and it didn't translate into English very well. Let me just be honest,
No.
it did not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I feel
but
like
they're
we've
just
been
a
too
little
much
all
on
over
a.
the place with what.
I was gonna say, I feel like we've been too much on a negative trip here. Let's talk about things we liked about the movie.
Yoli is a fashion icon, a go girl. I love her. I mean, she was my favorite to begin with, so it's just like, yes, I could cosplay that easily, no problem. That's my fashion.
Props to her for making up for that stupid helmet she wore in the digital world in 02 proper.
That wasn't her fault. That was the digital world's fault. Thank you very much.
She had the worst of the three outfits. Let's be real. So she had to make up for it somehow.
I mean, digital world outfits was just like, oh, this is shit kids wear, right? That's good. Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about good things, I will give them props for kind of how Louis' story in this was very heavy and kind of twisted, and how they resolved it in a peaceful manner, which is something the series doesn't normally do too often. So the approach was a little bit fresh, and I'll give it that.
It was, and that's a positive. I'll give it, Pat. But there's also a negative I have to it, which
we talked about this earlier, didn't we?
We talked about this last night a little bit.
Yeah. We'll get to that later.
Okay, you want to hold off on that for right now?
We'll hold off on more negatives because, I feel like we've done mixed. We've been on negatives.
I blame Dai.
I mean, I can also speak for more positives. I thought overall, despite everything, the movie was pretty cute. It had a very cute ending. I was like, all right, yeah, it's fine. It has its issues, but for what it is, it worked, and the animation was actually really well done. I really liked the action scenes that they had done. I was really happy that they gave Sylphimon more time, because that's also like one of my top favorite Digimon. So, little bias here. But I loved how they really worked on the animation for the Digimon. They could have easily just gone with 3D models to make things easier for them, but it was pretty clear that they stuck to 2D. If they did 3D, they did an excellent job hiding it. But I felt that it was pretty, it was clean. It was smooth. They definitely probably took hints from Studio Trigger, which I kind of liked. And I did like the fact that they wanted to touch on a darker subject with Louis, with his background, because a lot of that usually gets glossed over. It's not, taken seriously, or And I'm glad that they did something about it. And I mean, I also kind of like that they touched base of like manipulation and how that's not okay. They didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could always do better. But I also feel like there's a bit of a cultural difference in how the Japanese handle these type of topics versus us Americans. We are very, very much more straightforward and head on of like, no, this is how you handle this topic versus the Japanese. It's, I feel like the cultural understanding definitely showed with the writing and how they addressed it. So I took that into consideration. I mean, I also really liked, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but they always kept Louis in the dark and they always kept the kids in the light. I don't know if you guys noticed that. And it wasn't until Louis accepted himself that they started putting him in the light. And I thought that was good.
Yeah, that's the kind of symbolism that the Japanese are usually pretty good at doing. It's
Yeah.
very subtle stuff, but when you pick up on it, it's like
there wasn't anything subtle about that. Like, because when they were in the light, it was like super bright, and every time they cut to him, it was like super dark.
I feel like this is a touch negative, but I feel like this is part where I was saying I felt that they thought their audience was too dumb. So, or like they were, even though they were trying to cater to an older audience, they were still trying to cater to a younger audience as well. So they wanted to make it fairly obvious, but not too much. I mean, perspective, but yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the problem that a series like Digimon kind of resides in, where if they want to appeal to the older crowd, it's a little bit tricky because the series is still being marketed towards kids. So they try to have their cake and eat it too, and they kind of get left in this weird gray area of it. It doesn't go all the way in one direction, and it doesn't go all the way in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially because, like, look at what happened with Adventure Reboot and Ghost Game, where, like, Ghost Game especially, I think, is a little bit more obvious with this, where it was more darker stories, but they didn't want to establish, like, a cohesive plot all the way through because they wanted to keep it more friendly to kids, and it kind of held the whole show back immensely. And this movie kind of echoes that same feeling a little bit, where they should have just gone all in on the adult side.
I feel like they should have, because like if you watch like Digimon season 3, they definitely went darker, and like if you watch the Japanese versus the first American dub, like they really went in. I mean, they toned it down, but like I feel like Digimon does better when it goes all in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the things that people love about Tamers, is that it didn't hold anything back when it got to its emotional moments. And Ghost Game really could have used something like that, and instead of it being episodic like it was. And this movie kind of falls suit, where they just needed to say screw it. This movie is very wrong in all the right places, if you catch what I'm trying to say by that. But yeah.
I think I like the direction they went. I like how the final fight kind of ended. There wasn't like a new form that was going to be introduced. It was pretty straightforward how they resolved it. I'm like, oh, well, that's neat.
Yeah.
I know. The restraint to not give Imperial Dramon a new form. I mean,
I thought for sure we were going to see Paladin mode.
I thought, like, what's the new Imperial Dramon form going to look like? We got a new Omegamon, we got the Bonza form in Last Evolution. I was like, what's the new Imperial Dramon form going to look like?
I thought they were just going to straight up give him Paladin mode here. I'm like, oh,
I
sweet, we're
thought-
finally going to see Paladin mode.
Yeah.
I thought they were
again.
gonna do the mega evolutions for
Yeah, like-
the rest, and like
Yeah,
they
like-
did. I think it was it
In
in
Tri.
Kozia or was it in Tri that they gave the meta? Yeah, I was kind of expecting that, and I was really surprised that they didn't do that. But I figured that they felt that they met their quota for the Digi-evolution scenes.
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah.
crammed 6 of them all at once. So.
Dude, that was pretty clever. I will give him that, because while we bashed them a lot about continuity errors, at least they can remember Gatomon as a champion Digimon,
Yeah.
and her evolution to Anzi-Womon as a ultimate form,
Mhm.
and so they were able to bring her to Anzi-Womon. She got knocked back conveniently so that she could buy
DNA evolution.
Digivolve.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get confused with that and the other ways that we do it.
Yeah, DNA
Now-
Digivolve, or other people call it Jogress.
Jogress. I do want to go back to what you were talking about with the animation earlier. Seeing these very like low quality and stilted evolution sequences get this modern day high quality animation upgrade that they got was like, man, Pyeldrimon's evolution sequence was beautiful.
Dude,
It was.
it
Yeah,
was so
let me-
good.
Let me tell you, I was so happy. I'm like, oh, are we about to see the bad 2001 CG?
Did you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
Did you guys go like when they did Pyeldrimon's like not Pyeldrimon, Imperial Dramon's like evolution where he just like blows up an entire building? I was like, I
Oh, yeah, the
straight
castle.
out said out loud without meaning to, was that necessary?
Well,
The
that's
answer is
actually
yes.
well, because that's in Imperial Dramon's actual evolution sequence from 02 proper. They just made it a lot more dramatic.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like they're trying not to blow up stuff, and here he is. You know, like, look at this building. Let's just blow it up for no particular reason. Like, bye.
Screw this place in particular.
Like, I thought that was just like, all right. I mean, sure. All right. That's wasn't like they could have just had him have his laser just out, not just screw this one place in particular and nuclear it to the ground.
Yeah. I will say that another part of this I liked, and this will be a double-edged sword, but I'm going to hold off again.
Mhm.
I do like the battle scenes we got in this thing.
Yeah.
They were a lot of fun to me.
It was not. The biggest thing I was afraid of, which is something they did with the first few Try movies, is I thought they were gonna replace the battle themes again.
Oh my god, I would have hated that.
Because like when I went to go see Try Dub, I'm like, oh sweet, ready to hear Butterfly, let's go. And then we get like that god awful English Digimon opening remix, and I'm like,
Wait, the Digimon rap?
yeah, we got
Yeah.
an even worse
Yeah.
remix of it in the
Yeah,
first
I heard
Try
about
movie.
that.
And then like, if I remember, they replaced Braveheart with like some generic like rock. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I haven't actually seen the Try dub yet because I only watched it in Japanese when it was. What was it? Crunchyroll that it was released
Yeah.
on?
Crunchyroll is
Yeah.
releasing them.
Yeah. So, but I heard horror stories about what they did to the OST.
Yeah, or,
But
Yeah.
Last Evolution kept the Japanese soundtrack in both versions,
Mhm.
and
then
so
this one kept it, and it was nice
Yeah.
hearing them. It was not. It was understandable why we didn't get new versions of them, though.
Yeah.
well, they had to give us remixes of the songs we got.
They're all the originals.
These are all original, I think, right?
They were.
No, the target that they played for the intro was the original, but the Braveheart that they played, the beat hit, which was the DNA song, and the target that they played when Imperial Dramon showed up were actually new. Because I've listened to them on YouTube; they're completely original versions.
Okay, so dumb question,
Mhm.
because like most of us, it's been way too long since I've seen the original stuff. Did they play Braveheart in 02?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
just
used
for
it for
the just for the evolutions.
Yeah, XVmon, Stingmon, Ankylomon, and Aquilomon had it happen.
Oh, for
their
the champion
sequences.
evolution?
Yeah,
For the
yeah,
champion evolution.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
they just play the riff on it, the doo
Yeah.
doo
Okay.
doo.
yeah.
That's it. But then like the battle theme that plays throughout, that was like
Yeah.
O2's version of Braveheart
Yeah.
that they kept in there, which was Catchy Bob. As someone who hasn't seen the sub O2, my memories are just with the dub. So hearing these like essentially for the first time, I'm like, yeah, I could see why these things have 5 million views on YouTube.
Those are some bangers, okay?
Yeah,
that was
as
pretty
much as
big.
I hate 02, its OST is top notch, just like
Yeah.
every other season is really.
Yeah, but we can go back to the negatives now.
Okay.
Riz?
So
Riz has been holding on
I
to
felt
this.
enough positive. I think I was
Okay.
probably the only person that was just like, yeah, this is all right. It's it's not perfect, but
no, I said multiple times I had a lot of fun watching this movie.
Yeah, for me,
I
it's
think-
like a 6
a lot
out
of fun
10 movie.
bashing it. No, I'm just kidding.
I thought it was a
Okay.
6 out of 10.
Yeah, I would give it a 7, but
Yeah,
so
same here.
here's my thing. I applaud the initiative that these guys took with the movie to not lean into the nostalgia very hard, to give us just another chapter in these guys' lives without making it like here's the things that here's all the things from O2 again that we've already seen. They didn't lean into the nostalgia super heavy. They tried to make it their own thing.
I feel
But-
like the reason for that is because you have people like Patrick that's like, I absolutely hate this trash. So majority of people that I hear about O2 is like, nah, it sucks, fam. So I feel like they had leeway.
Yeah, but okay, so they had leeway, and they were on a really good trajectory here with the entire movie, going pretty well. But in the last 20 minutes, they fumbled the ball at the end. And the way they fumbled it to me is it suddenly went from this organic story of Louis and his partner Digimon reconciling, and it was kind of my expectation at that point when they were resolving their differences that okay, we don't actually need a final fight. We don't need these guys to go do something to kill Louis' Digimon. It's just not worth it. They can do it peacefully like they want. Nothing bad will happen. And then what does Louis do the second he gets out of there? He
Kick his ass.
nuke him. And I'm just sitting there like, wait, why are we doing this? You resolved the problem. It's fixed. He can revert back to an egg without killing him.
No, I think at that point, liken it to something that basically on the outside it was just like rabid. Like there wasn't any stopping it without force.
But I mean,
but the fact that he knows that Louis can be revived is why he was at peace with them taking him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
because that would have been the second time Louis died and came back.
Yeah.
What's up, Deanna?
What is up with Digimon's obsession with tentacles?
I don't know.
It's probably Japan's obsession.
Yeah,
honestly,
that's a Japanese problem.
That's
yeah.
They had tentacles in Digimon Try, and they had tentacles in this. Did they have tentacles?
I don't remember
Kizuna?
Kizuna that well.
I was just thinking of like these mega Digimon are all
No,
tentacle-y.
Last Evolution had an obsession with mirrors.
Which movie had the weird, creepy Zenai bit?
That was Try.
That was Try. That was movie
Try
5 of Try, where he licked
Try 4
Yeah.
he like pinned her down and licked her. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, that's also
Japan.
something that hasn't been explained since Try ended either. What the heck was up with that?
They're never gonna explain it.
But going back to it, to me, it felt like a checklist at that point, where we had our
Yeah.
Digivolutions, we had the DNA Digivolution, we had battle mode for Palindromon. Now we have to have the epic battle at the end to make it a real Digimon installment. But
And yet it still felt
well, it was
lackluster.
lackluster, but also
The animation was beautiful, though.
Yeah.
Those animations of the
but in my
Digivolution.
opinion, they didn't need that final battle.
No,
They could
I
have
agree.
easily had some kind of weird Digimon power thing where, oh, you've purified Ukomon, so he can go back to being a Digi-Egg or Ukomon. I mean, he didn't have to be the weird little big tentacle monster thing that was causing mayhem. Like, that didn't have to
Cephalopod
be
from hell.
right.
Honestly, the more I sitting here thinking about it right now, this kind of reminds me of the first 02 movie, Golden Hurricane, whatever the heck the full name of it is,
Oh god.
where on the inside, Lotmon was like begging for a mercy kill because he was out of control on the outside.
Yeah.
So they kind of had to kill him to reset him or something. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I mean, yeah, that was like a berserker Lotmon, I believe, right?
Yeah, he was Cherubimon corrupted or something at that point.
Yeah.
But then when Magnumon and Rapimon went inside him, he was like, "Freaking kill me already, so I can reset myself." It's kind of that same thing.
You know what's the funny part, Patrick?
Hmm?
The last time I watched that movie was when we recorded that podcast for the Otaku Sentai Digiranger.
That was like 11 years ago.
Yes.
We may or may not put that up on the YouTube channel. Remains to be seen.
No, we're nuking that channel.
Remains to be seen.
Yeah. But, okay, other than that, this isn't a complaint, this isn't a praise. It's more of a general question because I am confused about this. So, I understand at the end of O2, we had a lot of new people entering the club of Digimon partners, right? Like, everyone who saw the final battle had a partner at that point. So, and I think it's been like, what, 7-8 years between the end of O2 and right now or something like that?
Some extended time period, yeah.
Yeah. So, to me, it makes sense that in that time period, most humans either have a partner Digimon or they know enough about Digimon to understand it. So, why was it such an awful thing for Ukomon to give everyone a partner Digimon?
Because there is a staunch difference between only 60k of those things running around and 7 billion.
Yeah.
Think about the serial killers and the criminals and the terrorists and like the assassins and the bank
And
robbers.
those kids who have their
They all get
Digimon, they've had
Digimon.
already years of basically training or upkeeping them.
Yeah.
So then you add like just 7 put it like this. How do you think what would you think would happen if out of the blue just 7 billion more dogs were just to pop up?
Yeah, that might be a little chaotic.
Okay, so now you give those things basically guns because, Digimon. Jeans and a bunch of belts. Just running around with people who don't know how to tame them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
I can see that.
It's one of those things where you're just accelerating something that is only going at a very slow and steady rate.
And so oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, my follow-up question is, again, it's been years since I've seen O2. We'll go back. Well, you said number of 11, Patrick. The year that's been since I've last seen O2.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah. So, going by that, I don't remember if they established that over time, more people would occasionally get partner Digimons, or if they even explained what phenomenon causes a person to spontaneously get a partner at some point in their life?
From
I don't believe they ever
Zero
touched
Two
on that.
basically said when that whole like world tour thing started happening, they never explained it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
this
it
movie,
was just these
and
kids
that's
had
kind
to.
of what I think the point of this movie was, because Adventure was like, okay, well, these 8 are special. And then 02 was like, well, here's like 40 other people with Digimon across the world. And I think this movie was kind of meant to explain why that was the case, because the actual season never did.
I mean, that would make sense if that's what they're trying to do, but did it make sense to say that Ukumon is the genesis for all partners?
No.
Because to me, I think Ukumon created more partnerships, but I don't think he's responsible for the original 8 or the subsequent 02 team
Or the original 5.
Okay,
that we know nothing
so
about.
this was something that I was trying to get into earlier, and
Go for it.
then like I got cut off. So I actually think what they could have gone with the storyline with Ukumon with, hey, I'm going to make you more friends. I have a connection with this great being. I think that both the original kids having their Digimon and Ukumon creating more can coincide. Basically, like, hey, you're already making, like, because at no point did Louis ever say, I want other kids like me. At no point. I don't even know if it's in the sub version. But Ukumon apparently translated that to, hey, let's create more Digidestin. But if he has a connection to a great divine, like, great being in the digital world, it could be that the digital being said, you know what? You're onto something. Let's make more. We already have a bunch of kids. Let's make more. But the interesting thing is that the original kids had their Digimon in the digital world, whereas Ukumon was creating Digimon in the real world. And that's where we get the world tour kids as well, because if I remember correctly, they didn't go to the digital world. They were in the real world.
Yeah.
And here's a point to back that up, because I went back to this timeline that they put up. They established in Adventure that the Greymon Parrotmon fight in that prequel movie was used to pick the 8 that would become the Chosen, the original 8 Chosen.
Yeah.
That happened almost a year before Louis met Yukomon.
Yeah.
So maybe the original 8 were outside of this.
And that's what I was trying to say earlier.
Yeah, and I think that might be the case here.
Now,
when you look at the timeline and
I
everything.
think the same is true for the original 5 that we don't know anything about.
Yeah, because
The only thing
that
we know,
sounded like that sounded more like it was a prophecy thing that was going to happen regardless of if this wish thing ever happened or not.
well, the only thing we know about the original 5 is that 4 of them became the 4. God, I can't think of their names, but one of them's Azulongmon.
the
sovereign.
They became
because
the 4 sovereign, and then like they had to sacrifice one of them in order to achieve that. Which, if I remember, it was
the
Tapermon.
5th one.
Yeah, it was Tapermon who died.
Was this in Tri?
This was in Tri.
Yeah, this was in Tri.
Yeah, I told you that.
Dude, I have no memory of Tri.
What?
It was the start of the 4th movie, I think it was.
I blocked out so much.
Their teacher and like the lady agent were 2 of the original 5, and then they both died in Tri.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now. Okay.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, kind of, again, like, Ukumon's claim doesn't make sense, because not only do we have Agumon hatching like a year before, but it was established in the movie that has the 2 Terriermons that Willis's Digimon hatched at the same time as theirs over in America. So, like, we already have multiple instances of Ukumon's claim just being false.
But I also think it's also the kids jumping the gun as well, making the assumption of that. And it's also Louis making the assumption.
Right.
They took him at face. Yeah, they're taking him at face value.
Was already wrong, too, when he said he killed Ukumon. He didn't kill Ukumon.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other problem is this is the problem that we're running into is poor writing with the narrative, because we can only take the kids at their words. Like if we're taking the kids' words at that, but if there is a bigger narrative at play, the writers failed to foreshadow or work that into the narrative in the movie.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they established that there was something running in the background, like Ukumon communing with this great being of like, hey dog, like the idea, let's roll with it, like would have done better of like, these kids don't actually know what the heck they're talking about.
Ukamon melted during Revenge of Diaboromon.
Mm-hmm.
Digi-Egg randomly forms in 2012. What the fuck was Louis doing for the last 9-10 years?
Crying.
Being
Right,
edgy.
and why is the Digi-Egg just now resurfacing? Why is it just now like, surprise, here I am?
I think it has something to do with the leap years.
Yeah. He was.
Oh, so it was 2 birthdays
Yeah,
later.
he was waiting.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't he show up at the last birthday?
He had a trip to Hawaii.
Nah.
I mean,
It's
seriously,
always the Hawaii trip. It's always the Hawaii
It
trip.
might actually.
It's the beach episode.
Yeah.
Oh god.
God.
Oh god.
It might actually
just-
be. Like I was saying.
Yeah.
It might actually be that Ukomon was too weakened by his last encounter with Louis to really recover until 8 years later.
You're right, because he was
Yeah.
so
Well,
huge. He was maybe building himself
Yes,
up all
He might
night.
that's
have been
my
trying to build-
assumption.
He was probably building himself up to be the best he could be for Louis' sake.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
I also feel like again, this is poor narrative writing in that effort of how much data, like where did Ukumon get that data first off
What data
to
we're talking
accumulate?
about?
So Digimon are data. They are formed with that. In order for them to accumulate in size, they need more data. So where did Ukumon get that data in order to get to the size that it was, in order to also spawn all of these other eggs and fill those up with more data?
Probably the
David,
deity
he was
he's connected to
yeah.
that they mentioned
Yeah.
once and then drop. Again, I think this kind of goes to the point where this is probably the first of like more movies to come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I kind of assumed after this movie, the next installment in the Digimon movie franchise would probably be some kind of 20 years later for Tamers or something. But that would be foolish of me to say because Adventure is the moneymaker for them.
Yeah.
I at this point, I'm honestly thinking they're just gonna keep making movies up until they reach the epilogue,
Oh my god.
which would be kind of stupid, but it seems like that this movie was trying to push the narrative in that direction,
Yeah.
along with explaining where all these other kids came from that 02 never really explained their origin worth of crap.
I will say this. The one thing that kind of helps this kind of ensure the epilogue more is if you can like remember, none of the kids who had Digimon in the epilogue had a Digivice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the one point it's got going for it.
Dude, that's a... Wow. I didn't even think about that, but that's true.
Like I even went to go see some screen caps and like none of them had a Digivice in hand or anything.
Yeah.
Did the older ones have a Digivice in hand?
No.
No.
Hmm.
It could have just been the fact that they wanted to imply that they had them, but they never showed them. So
What is going on here, Ellie?
Or
I'm
they
sorry.
just didn't want to animate those many Digivices.
Yeah, they didn't want to animate them.
Hold on.
I-
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so while you guys were talking, I was scrolling through Tumblr and somebody had posted several comics for the movie, and it's Louis going, it's Kari going, "Wow, poor Ukumon," and Louis going, "What? He mind controlled people," and she just glares at him like, "So I get mind controlled by eldritch horrors like once a week. It's no big deal." And it's Gatomon's going, "Sounds like a skill issue."
Ellie,
The artist,
you gotta post that on our Discord.
the artist is Orange Lemon Art. I just love it.
You gotta post that into our Discord chat for Diana to see.
And you know how we were talking about like, hey, stop your flirting? They have Yoli going like Tonki and Lavender marriage. What she really wanted to talk to Ken about. I will post the link. It's so good.
Gatomon saying skill issue is something I didn't know I needed.
Skill issue. Alright. So kind of wrapping this up, because man, this went longer than I thought it was gonna go. Like, we almost went as long as the movie.
Almost.
Oh, they also brought up Armadillomon's voice. It's like, why did they change my voice to that? It doesn't sound like my Japanese voice or my old dub voice. We were barely in that movie at all. We just stood there. Looks like the writers forgot about my dad, Okawa, and Tetramon again.
Sleeping donkey.
But yes, enjoy the comics. Orange Lemon Art, guys. Look them up.
No homo. Reveal Slugger. Oh god. But yeah, wrapping things up. Overall thoughts on the movie. We'll start with you, Alora.
Overall thoughts? My biggest gripes are probably the writing, the lingering shots of them just kind of staring at each other. I was like, you could have cut this like half the time. But overall, it was nice to see the O2 kids. It was nice for them to actually do something for once. And for what it was, the movie was all right. And I liked the ending, especially the after credits scene. It was very cute.
Yeah. Patrick.
How do I want to word this? It's more. I mean, we're talking about all these continuity issues. I will give the movie this because I brought up the point earlier of all those kids at the end that they introduced in 02 that had no explanation as to why they had Digimon partners. I'm glad that they at least tried to do something with that idea and make a plot centered around it that I actually think kind of works. I mean, I think it works. I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels about that whole thing, but so I walked out of it kind of okay with it. Like, it's not anywhere near what I was expecting it to be, but I didn't hate it in the slightest. Like, I thought it was. I don't think it's as good as Last Evolution is, but
yeah,
for what it is, it was perfectly fine to me. Probably the best thing was 02's name on it by far.
Fair, fair enough.
Dude, you're just gonna keep on beating that dead horse, aren't you?
I mean, I know that you know I hate 02.
Oh,
but
we know.
Yeah,
really, I would have never guessed.
It's like shocking news to me, bro.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but I haven't really gone over it. Riz knows how bad I hate 02.
Don't get us started.
Riz.
Okay.
So when I say I actually like it, take that as like a revelation.
Riz, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'm surprised Patrick liked something with the O2 name on it.
Me too, actually.
Okay, so actual final thoughts here. While I have a lot of grief with the continuity errors and with just things not making sense to me. I still think this is a very fun ride. I'm glad we went on this journey. Um, it's also very interesting to see Digimon delve into this psychological thriller type thing slash body horror type thing. Like those are two things I didn't expect Digimon to ever do. Because when you think Digimon, you don't think psychological thriller. You think goofy, fun movie or TV show or whatever with absurd monsters that people can send to battle. So yeah, wilder issues. I thought it was a fun ride. Animation was top tier. Music, as always, amazing. Um, I wish we got a little bit more with the characters. I know Diana's internet cut out and says she can't say it, but I wish they would have confirmed one way or the other TK and Kyra's relationship because I really want them to be like a pairing.
Suck it, Davis.
They're just gonna dangle that over the fan base for the rest of time and never actually give us a confirmation on anything.
Dude, they're gonna
I'm
keep,
just convinced.
Listen,
Yeah.
Riz. All I'm gonna say is, I think they're leaning a little bit more to it in this one. If the ending snowball fight scene is any indication,
Oh yeah,
'cause-
definitely.
because
But
you saw the official pairing, or the only other official pairing we know at the end. Then we saw TK and Kari, and then we saw
Canon
Davis, Louis, and Cody. And then the other thing is, notice how Davis wasn't really thirsting over Kari in this one.
Yeah. No, Davis moved on. He's thirsting over his ramen.
That ramen looked good, man.
Dude.
I love the fact that Ken never called him out. It's like, oh, it was your ramen that taught you that lesson. Nothing else? Nothing at all? God, you're stupid. I love you.
My final thoughts is I went into it with like ridiculously low expectations. Like the bar was so low you could literally like crawl over it. And I was pleasantly surprised by it. I just want these movies to actually like put a focus on the characters themselves and not like a new one that they have to introduce every movie, that they put the development behind in them, and the other characters basically just feel like side characters in their movie that's supposed to be about them.
You know, at some point, if they make enough of these movies, they can form another team of Digi Destin with all these new characters.
But in defense of Louis, he was definitely a better character than May.
I mean, that's not
I
even a
don't think-
question.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah, because maybe like I'm guessing you would take that baseball bat and beat the crap out of Ukumon, which is what I was expecting.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
I thought we were about to get the swing away Meryl scene from Alien or from Signs go off in Digimon.
Wow. That would have been something to watch.
Yeah, I know,
Swing
right?
away. You know what? I think I might have to go commission someone to make that. Just have David be swing away, Louis.
Poor Diana isn't here to give
I could do
their
it for her.
opinions. I'm like,
She's
I hated it.
I got this.
Yeah.
I got this. Hang on. I'm Di, and I hate this movie. It sucks.
Ah.
There.
But yeah, overall, I think we all had a decent experience with the movie, which, again, from past experiences with Digimon movies, I think I see this as a positive.
Yeah.
And you know what? We look forward to maybe anything potential. I mean, I'm not sure about your guys' theaters, but mine was like decently filled up. A lot of older kids, like more like mid to late 20s in my theater.
Yeah, I went to a 4:30 showing, so it was literally just me and two other people.
You had
But that
multiple
was
times.
Yeah, we had a 4:30, a 7 o'clock, and I chose to go to the 4:30 one because I didn't want to deal with nighttime theater traffic.
Fair enough.
I had no choice to go to nighttime theater traffic, but I was actually pleasantly surprised with how many people were there. Apparently, they had to open up a second theater for the movie.
Wow.
That's pretty
Because they
impressive.
had and that theater was packed. I got there 20 minutes late, and I struggled to find seating. That's like how many people were there, and I was actually really pleasantly surprised that there was a lot of good-natured folk there. Like, you could definitely hear a lot of people making commentary about certain things, laughing at like the stupid shenanigans with like Vimon and Davis, and like just other scenes. So it was, and you know, even after the movie, there was like comments made of like, I was expecting him to beat the crap out of Hukuman with the bat, and so it was good to know that even in the state of Louisiana, that there's a lot of Digimon fans.
Yeah.
Especially with no marketing too. Like, I didn't even know the movie was out until yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't look until noon to see if any of my theaters had it.
Dude, I was watching the chat to see if you would get a ticket, and I was amazed that you were able to find one on the last day. That
Who,
was pretty
me?
impressive. No, Patrick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because we were in a group chat, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to see the movie tonight. Who's going? And Patrick's like, there's nothing near me. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I didn't have to pay for my ticket at all. Perks of working at a movie theater.
Nice.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, the only perk I could imagine.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
and that Seto Kaiba profile picture fits perfectly with the because he would laugh maniacally after saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always great talking to you guys. Great wrap up. People down below, let us know what you thought of the movie. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you think going forward they're going to make more of these? But yeah, that's going to be a wrap up on this Anime Declassified podcast. Check out some other stuff we've posted on there. I know we got some more Toku stuff being posted on there. I had a video discussing my thoughts on the live action Zelda movie. That was the most Nintendo way they could have announced that. And yeah,
post.
check out everything else we've got here for Anime Secrets Declassified. We're signing out. Have a good night, everyone.